Hello there everyone, it is me, Fizzy Degenerate, and today I will be doing something a little bit different from the normal content that I make. There was a comment in my comment section by a user, Bumblebee Potato, who said that they would like if I read the Wikipedia on cheese, and so I shall do exactly that. But by popular demand, I will be doing it in a probably very unauthentic French accent. So let's just get right into it. The Wikipedia on cheese. Cheese is a dairy product produced in wide ranges of flavors, textures, and forms by coagulation of the milk protein casein. It comprises proteins and fat from milk, usually the milk of cows, buffalo, goats, or sheep. During production, the milk is usually acidified, and the enzymes of either rennet or bacterial enzymes with similar activity are added to cause the casein to coagulate. The solid curds are then separated from the liquid whey and pressed into finished cheese. Some cheeses have aromatic molds on the rind, the outer layer, or throughout. Over 1,000 types of cheeses exist and are currently produced in various countries. Their styles, textures, and flavors depend on the origin of the milk, including the animal's diet, whether they have been pasteurized, the butterfat content, the bacteria and the mold, the processing, and how long they have been aged for. Herbs, spices, or wood smoke may be used as flavoring agents. The red and yellow color of many cheeses is produced by adding annatto. Other ingredients may be added to some cheeses, such as black pepper, garlic, chives, or cranberries. A cheesemonger, or specialist seller of cheeses, may have expertise with selecting the cheeses, purchasing, receiving, storing, and ripening them. For a few cheeses, the milk is curdled by adding acids such as vinegar or lemon juice. Most cheeses are acidified to a lesser degree by bacteria, which turn milk sugars into lactic acid. Then the addition of rennet completes the curdling. Vegetarian alternatives to rennet are available. Most are produced by fermentation of the fungus Mucor mehe, but others have been extracted from various species of Cyanara Tiso family. Cheesemakers near a dairy region may benefit from fresher, lower-priced milk and lower shipping costs. Cheese is valued for its portability, long shelf life, and high content of fat, protein, calcium, and phosphorus. Cheese is more compact and has a longer shelf life than milk, although how long a cheese will keep depends on the type of cheese. Hard cheeses such as Parmesan last longer than soft cheeses, such as brie or goat's milk cheese. The long storage life of some cheeses, especially when encased in a protective rind, allows selling when markets are favorable. Vacuum packaging of block-shaped cheeses and gas flushing of plastic bags with mixtures of carbon dioxide and nitrogen are used for storage and mass distribution of cheeses in the 21st century. Moving on to etymology. The word cheese comes from Latin caseus, from which the modern word casein is also derived. The earliest source is from Proto-Indo-European root quat, which means to ferment or become sour. This gave rise to tis or cis in Old English and chis in Middle English. Similar words are shared by other West Germanic languages: West Frisian tis, Dutch kas, German kas, Old High German chassis, or from the reconstructed West Germanic form kasi, which in turn is an early borrowing from Latin. The online etymological dictionary states that cheese comes from Old English cis and cis, from West Germanic castus, also of Old Saxon cassi, Old High German chassis, German kasse, Middle Dutch kas, and Dutch kas. From Latin cassis for cheese, source of Italian cassio, Spanish queso, Irish quiche, and Welsh cos. The online etymological dictionary states that the word of unknown origin, perhaps from a pie root, quat, to ferment, become sour, source also of Prakrit chassis buttermilk, or Church Slavonic fasu, leaven fermented drink, Kselu, sour, Kseti, to turn sour, Czech, Kiasati, to turn sour or to rot, Sanskrit, Kavati, boils or seeds, Gothic, Fabian, foam, also compare fromage, Old Norse, Oster, Danish Ost, Swedish Ost are related to Aten, Eus, broth, sauce, or juice. When the Romans began to make hard cheeses for the legionnaires' supplies, a new word started to be used, formaticum, from Cassius formatis, or molded cheese, as informed, not moldy. It is from these words that the French fromage, Standard Italian formaggio, Catalan formatage, Breton fromage, and Occitan fromatque or formatque are derived. Of the Romance languages, Spanish, Portuguese, Roman, Tuscan, and Southern Italian dialects use words derived from Cassius. Queso, queijo, cas, and caso, for example. The word cheese itself is occasionally employed in a sense that means molded or formed. Head cheese uses the word in this sense. The term cheese is also used as a noun, verb, and adjective in a number of figurative expressions. Examples are the big cheese, to be cheesed off, and cheesy lyrics. Moving on to history. Cheese is an ancient food whose origins predate recorded history. There is no conclusive evidence indicating where cheese making originated, whether in Europe, Central Asia, or the Middle East. Earliest proposed dates for the origin of cheese making ranges from around 8000 BCE, when sheep were first domesticated. Since animal skins and inflated internal organs have since ancient times provided storage vessels for a range of foodstuffs, it is possible that the process of making was discovered accidentally by storing milk in a container made from the stomach of an animal, resulting in the milk being turned to curd and whey by the rennet from the stomach. There is a legend with variations about the discovery of cheese by an Arab trader who used this method of storing milk. The early evidence of cheese making in the archaeological records dates back to 5500 BCE and is found in what is now Kujawia, Poland, where strainers coated with milk fat molecules have been found. Cheese making may have begun independently of this by pressing and salting of curdled milk to preserve it. Observation that the effect of making cheese in an animal's stomach gave more solid and better textured curds may have led to the deliberate addition of rennet. Early archaeological evidence of Egyptian cheese has been found in Egyptian tomb murals dating to about 2000 BCE. A scientific paper stated that the world's oldest cheese, dating to approximately 1200 BCE, was found in ancient Egyptian tombs. The earliest cheeses were quite likely sour and salty, similar in texture to rustic cottage cheese or feta. A crumbly, flavorful Greek cheese. Cheese produced in Europe, where climates are cooler than in the Middle East, require less salt for preservation. With less salt and acidity, the cheese became a suitable environment for useful microbes and molds, giving aged cheeses their respective flavors. The earliest ever discovered preserved cheese was found in the Taklamakan Desert in Xinjiang, China, dating back as early as 1615 BCE. Ancient Greece and Rome. Ancient Greek mythology credits Aristaeus with the discovery of cheese. Homer's Odyssey describes the Cyclops making and storing sheep's and goat's milk cheese. Colomeles de Rustica details the cheese-making process involving rennet coagulation, pressing of the curd, salting, and aging. According to Pliny the Elder, it has become a sophisticated enterprise by the time the Roman Empire came into being. Cheese was an everyday food, and cheese-making a mature art in the Roman Empire. Pliny's Natural History devotes a chapter to describing the diversity of cheeses enjoyed by Romans of the early empire. He stated that the best cheeses came from the villages near Nimes, but did not keep long and had to be eaten fresh. Cheeses of the Alps and Apennines were as remarkable for their variety then as now. A Ligurian cheese was noted for being made mostly from sheep's milk, and some cheeses produced nearby were stated to weigh as much as 8,000 pounds each. Goat's milk cheese was a recent taste in Rome, improved over the medicinal taste of goat's similar cheeses by smoking. Of cheeses from overseas, Pliny preferred those of Bithynia in Asia Minor, post-Roman Europe. As Romanized populations encountered unfamiliar, newly settled neighbors, bringing their own cheese-making traditions, their own flock, and their own unrelated words for cheese, cheeses in Europe diversified further, with the various locales developing their own distinctive traditions and products. As long-distance trade collapsed, only traders would encounter unfamiliar cheeses. Charlemagne's first encounter with a white cheese that had an edible rind forms one of the constructed anecdotes of Notker's Life of the Emperor. The British Cheese Board claims that Britain has approximately 700 local cheeses. France and Italy have perhaps 400 each. A French proverb holds that there is a different French cheese for every day of the year, and Charles de Gaulle once asked, "How can you govern a country in which there are 246 kinds of cheese?" Still, the advancements of the cheese art in Europe were slow during the centuries after Rome's fall. Many cheeses popular today were first recorded in the late Middle Ages or after. Cheeses like cheddar around 1500, Parmesan in 1597, Gouda in 1697, and Camembert in 1791. In 1546, the Proverbs of John Haywood claimed the moon is made of a green cheese. Green may refer here not to the color, as many now think, but to being new or unaged. Variations on these sentiments were long repeated, and NASA exploited this myth for an April Fool's Day spoof announcement in 2006. The modern era. Until its modern spread across the European culture, cheese was nearly unheard of in East Asian cultures and in pre-Columbian Americas, and had only limited use in sub-Mediterranean Africa, mainly being widespread and popular only in Europe, the Middle East, the India subcontinent, and areas influenced by those cultures. But with the spread of the first European imperialism, and later of Euro-American culture and food, cheese has gradually become known and increasingly popular worldwide. The first factory for the industrial production of cheese opened in Switzerland in 1815, but large-scale production first found real success in the United States. Credit usually goes to Jesse Williams, a dairy farmer from Rome, New York, who in 1851 started making cheese in an assembly line fashion using the milk from neighboring farms. Within decades, hundreds of such dairy associations exist. The 1860s saw the beginning of mass-produced rennet, and by the turn of the century, scientists were producing pure microbial cultures. Before then, bacteria in cheese making had come from the environment or from recycling an earlier batch's whey. The pure cultures meant a more standardized cheese could be produced. Factory-made cheese overtook traditional cheese making in the World War II era, and factories have been the source of most cheese in America and Europe ever since. Here are some statistics for production of cheese in 2019. The country with the most cheese produced is the United States, with 6,315,293 tons. Second is Germany, with 2,297,400 tons. Number 3 is France, with 1,938,600 tons. Next is Italy, with 1,327,300 tons. Netherlands is number 5, with 953,260 tons. Next is Poland, with 867,950 tons. Next is Russia, with 702,318 tons of cheese. Next is Turkey, with 696,800 tons. After that is Egypt, with 607,202 tons. France, Iceland, Finland, Denmark, and Germany were the highest consumers of cheese in 2014, averaging at about 25 kilograms or 55 pounds per person. Processing. A required step in cheese making is separating the milk into solid curds and liquid whey. Usually this is done by acidifying the milk and adding rennet. The acidification can be accomplished directly by the addition of an acid such as vinegar, in a few cases, paneer and queso fresco. More commonly, starter bacteria are employed instead, which convert milk sugars into lactic acid. The same bacteria and the enzymes they produce also play a large role in the eventual flavor of aged cheese. Most cheeses are made with starter bacteria from the Lactococcus, Lactobacillus, or Streptococcus genera. Swiss starter cultures include Propionenbacter shermani, which produces carbon dioxide gas bubbles during aging, giving Swiss cheese or Emmental its holes, which are called eyes. Some fresh cheeses are curdled only by acidity, but most cheeses also use rennet. Rennet sets cheese into a strong and rubbery gel compared to the fragile curds produced by acidic coagulation alone. It also allows curdling at a lower acidity, important because flavor-making bacteria are inhibited by high acidity environments. In general, softer, smaller, fresher cheeses are curdled with a greater proportion of acid to rennet than harder, longer aged varieties. While rennet was traditionally produced via extraction from the inner mucosa of the forestomach chamber of slaughtered young, unweaned calves, most rennet used today in cheesemaking is produced recombinantly. The majority of the applied chymosin is retained in the whey and, at most, may be present in cheese in trace quantities. In ripe cheese, the type and provenance of chymosin used in production cannot be determined. Curd processing. At this point, the cheese has set into a very moist gel. Some soft cheeses are now essentially complete. They are drained, salted, and packaged. For most of the rest, the curd is cut into small cubes. This allows water to drain from the individual pieces of curd. Some hard cheeses are then heated to temperatures in the range of 35 to 55 degrees Celsius, 95 to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. This forces more whey from the cut curd. It also changes the taste of the finished cheese, affecting both the bacterial culture and the milk chemistry. Cheeses that are heated to the higher temperatures are usually made with thermophilic starter bacteria that survive this step, either lactobacilli or streptococci. Salt has roles in cheese besides adding a salty flavor. It preserves cheese from spoiling, draws moisture from the curd, and firms cheese's texture in an interaction with its proteins. Some cheeses are salted from the outside with dry salt or brine washes. Most cheeses have the salt mixed directly into the curds. Other techniques influence a cheese's texture and flavor. Some examples are stretching. In the case of mozzarella and provolone, the curd is stretched and kneaded in hot water, developing a stringy fibrous body. Cheddaring. For cheddar, the cut curd is repeatedly piled up, pushing more moisture away. The curd is also mixed for a long time, taking the sharp edges off of the cut curd pieces and influencing the final product's texture. Or washing, such as Edam, Gouda, and Colby. The curd is washed in warm water, lowering its acidity and making for a milder tasting cheese. Most cheeses achieve their final shape when the curds are pressed into a mold or form. The harder the cheese, the more pressure is applied. The pressure drives out moisture. The molds are designed to allow water to escape and unifies the curds into a solid body. Ripening. A newborn cheese is usually salty yet bland in flavor, and for harder varieties, rubbery in texture. These qualities are sometimes enjoyed. Cheese curds are eaten on their own, but normally cheeses are left to rest under controlled conditions. This aging period, also called ripening or from the French affinage, lasts from a few days to several years. As a cheese ages, microbes and enzymes transform texture and intensify flavor. This transformation is largely a result of the breakdown of casein proteins and milk fats into a complete mix of amino acids, amines, and fatty acids. Some cheeses have additional bacteria or molds intentionally introduced before or during aging. In traditional cheesemaking, these microbes might already present in the aging room. They are simply allowed to settle and grow on the stored cheeses. More often today, prepared cultures are used, giving more consistent results and putting fewer constraints on the environment where the cheese ages. These cheeses include soft-ripened cheeses such as brie and camembert, blue cheeses such as Roquefort, Stilton, Gorgonzola, and Rhine-washed cheeses such as Limburg. There is quite a number of categories left to get through on this Wikipedia. However, I think that for now that will be enough. If you are still listening, I am very grateful to you. I am very shocked that you would sit and listen to someone using a terrible French accent to talk about cheese for almost 30 minutes now. But if you are still here, thank you for listening, and I hope that you will tune in next time for hopefully something a bit more interesting. But until then, au revoir, bye bye, and thank you for listening.